Hey sports fans, welcome back to another episode of EBC Sports International. I'm your host Zarita Sese, reporting from Toronto, Canada. We hope that you're staying safe during these interesting times and that you continue to do your part. Like always, like we've done every single episode, I'm joined by some of my favorite sports fans from all over North America. And we're going to discuss a whole bunch of sports news that happened this week. So starting off with my fellow Canadian, who I'm so happy to have some numbers on my side this time. From Toronto, Canada, we have Adian Pangilinan.
What's up, everybody?
From Alexandria, Virginia, we have EJ Gonzalez.
What's up, guys? Did you know preseason for the NBA started today? I was caught by surprise. Let's go.
It's like no time has passed. No time has passed. From Dallas, Texas, we have Mark Nabo.
What's going on, everybody? I'm so excited to be here. Hey, basketball season already? Wow. I didn't know it started today. Thanks for letting me know.
we have purpose again. And finally, from Las Vegas, Nevada, we have Aljamain Santos, who we've been missing so much. So welcome back.
It's good to be back, y'all. It's good to be back. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So we want to remind all of you that we are by no means experts. Rather, we're just a group of friends talking about the thing we love, sports. So before we get into our discussion, we actually have some updates. And we're going to start with EJ, who's been chomping at the bits all week to give us some good news about his favorite football team.
Yes. Thanks, Zarita. Entering Monday night, the Pittsburgh Steelers were the last standing undefeated team in the NFL. The Steelers were coming off a near loss to Baltimore, who didn't even have their star quarterback in Lamar Jackson, while Washington was coming off an impressive win from the Thanksgiving game where they put up 41 points against the Dallas Cowboys. One of the highlight performers for Washington in that Thanksgiving victory was their rookie running back, Antonio Gibson, who ran for 115 yards and 3 touchdowns. However, in this Monday night game against the Steelers, Gibson exited the game early in the first quarter after a toe injury, and the gates opened wide for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh went on to take a 14-0 lead and entered halftime with a 14-3 lead after Washington put up just a single field goal in the closing seconds of the first half. All momentum was going for Pittsburgh, but Washington came out on the field to put up a touchdown in their first possession of the second half, and suddenly the lead was cut to 14-10. From there, the defense of Washington stepped up, holding the Steelers to put up just 3 more points for the rest of the game, while Alex Smith, Logan Thomas, and Washington's offense looked determined to complete the comeback. After Washington turned the tide and took a 20-17 lead, Pittsburgh had one more chance to tie or win the game, and it was quickly halted when Big Ben was picked off in the first play after receiving the ball back, and Washington sealed the deal with a field goal and handed Pittsburgh their very first loss of the season with a final score of 23-17. All of a sudden, the Steelers have a downward trend and have a tough matchup against the Buffalo Bills this coming Sunday. Meanwhile, Washington has won 3 straight behind comeback player of the year frontrunner Alex Smith and are tied at the top spot of the NFC East. Back to you, Zarita.
Thanks, EJ. I know you were waiting to tell us that, and too bad Mike's not here and Zalti. But
Mike. I want to shout out Mike because he and I both predicted that the Steelers were going to take their first loss against Washington. So go, Mike, man. We got it, man.
Thanks, EJ. So for some international news, this week, EBC actually had the opportunity to speak with Philippines' own Kai Sotto about his current experience with the NBA's G League select team called the Ignite team. So Sotto is part of a diverse group, and being the pioneer of this program, Kai does admit that the competition that this team and this league has is a lot harder than what he's actually used to. But he's also taking advantage of being around players and coaches who has had years of experience in a league that he hopes to be a part of come 2021. So aside from learning as much as he can, Kai understands that what he's doing right now is more than just about him. Right now, in the call, he actually stated that he's doing this actually for his parents and for his country. So when he was asked about being an inspiration to young Filipino basketball fans who hope to make it big one day, here's what he had to say.
To dream big and just to believe in yourself, because believe me, there are times that nobody believes in me. I mean, only my parents, only my family, but even my former teammates didn't believe in me that I can make it this far. but I use that as a motivation for me to even work harder, not just to prove them wrong, but also like shine a light for them that, you know, this player that I played with before is now in the G League. So I think it's just dreaming big and just working hard for it, because it's not easy. There will be a lot of challenges that will come ahead, and you just have to be ready for it. And you will fail along the way, but that will help you get better, and that will help you get stronger when it comes to a bigger challenge.
It's such a great opportunity to be able to speak with Kai. And he, like I was telling you guys off air, he's very well spoken and he's so young. So there's no doubt that a lot of us will be watching and listening for his name come the 2021 draft. So now you're all caught up with some sports news from all over the world. We're going to take a quick break, and right after the break, we're going to jump into our discussion. We'll be right back.
Hey there, Arnie Aquino here at Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net25.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
Welcome back, sports fans. Thanks for sticking with us, and we're going to jump right into our discussion, actually. So we're going to start off with some boxing news. So Floyd Mayweather announced earlier this week that he'll be participating in an exhibition match against YouTube star Logan Paul. So don't get that confused with his brother Jake Paul, who recently defeated Nate Robinson by knockout in their exhibition match just a couple weeks ago. So this, though this wouldn't be Logan Paul's first exhibition match, he took on another YouTuber in 2019. He is up against an undefeated professional boxer in Mayweather. In an episode of his podcast, Jake Paul said that if he is going for the W, and if he does win, this would be the greatest upset in the history of sports. So I know our panel has a lot to say about this. So Amin, I'll start off with you. How do you feel about this fight, and are you going to be watching?
I don't know how to take this fight. Like, am I supposed to take it as like some type of joke? Am I supposed to take it seriously? Are boxing analysts really going to take a look at this fight and be like, well, you know, if Logan Paul were to just, you know, wait a little bit and give him a little bit of time, he might be able to attack Mayweather. But this is a joke. It's pure entertainment. I love it. I love Logan Paul's attempt to like really stick out there. You know, maybe he's going in representing the Paul family, because his brother did take on Nate Robinson, who is a professional athlete. And, you know, I do commend Logan for taking this fight against Mayweather, because, I mean, if Mayweather is going to take fights from random people, I mean, there's got to be a reason why Mayweather is agreeing to something like this. You know, it's not every day that you see an undefeated professional boxer take on a YouTube star, you know. So I'll watch it. You know, I don't know if I can take it seriously and say like, man, I think Logan Paul could really get Mayweather. You know, like, the biggest mistake that you can do is underestimate your opponent. You can't allow him to give any openings, because if Logan Paul, you know, tags him and he really does connect with him, I would be really, really sad for Mayweather, honestly. Like, man, your first loss comes to a YouTube star. Like, really, would you count that against Mayweather? Would you count that against him?
I mean, oh man, Yeah,
it's
no,
gonna be
for
crazy
sure.
for sure.
It's so hard for me to take this fight seriously, but I'm going to try. EJ, if, and that's a huge if, Logan Paul does win this, what, like Amin was saying, what does it do for
Right.
Mayweather's legacy?
It's a huge blemish. There is no reason for him to lose, right? Logan isn't the one who's fresh off of a victory from Nate Robinson, right? That was his brother, Paul. So there has been no public display of experience for Logan, at least not at a high level like this. He's going to be fighting an undefeated professional fighter. If Mayweather's undefeated against professional fighters, there's no reason he should lose to a YouTube star, a YouTuber. Man, yes, Mayweather is not known to be, of course, not a power puncher. He may not be the most fun to watch, but you know he is undefeated. That's a fact. He's undefeated. So if he loses to a guy who has no professional fighting experience, even though it's just an exhibition match, it would blemish the thing that he's most known for, and that's being undefeated in that ring. Now, I do like what this is doing for the boxing sport. It's definitely televising it or showing it more to a broader audience, maybe people who are not so in tune with boxing, like people who follow Logan Paul on YouTube. Maybe they're not, they have nothing to know about boxing. So I understand why the fight is happening. I think it's just to get more people interested in the sport. I think that's probably the main reason why Mayweather is doing it, aside from the money. Of course, he's money Mayweather. But yeah, if he loses, huge blemish. There's no reason he should lose.
Absolutely. Mark, I know you warned us earlier that you have some hot takes about this. So I'll start off with, why do you think, I mean, EJ might have alluded to this, but why do you think Mayweather agreed to fight a YouTube star?
I'm not gonna lie, it's cute. I think I think it's super cute. Logan has no chance. Like there's no chance. And some people, actually, I talked to some people about this, and they were worried that he's gonna get seriously hurt. And like EJ said, Mayweather wasn't known as a power puncher. So as long as Logan doesn't get reckless, I think he'll be fine. Unfortunately, he's going to be going up against one of the best and most boring technical fighters of recent memory, and maybe of all time. So all Logan really needs to do is just not be overly aggressive, keep your hands up and protect yourself, and he can walk away with a bag of money and his health. And so to answer your question about why Mayweather is doing this, I can't think of a reason that he has. I don't think there's a reason that he would do this as a benefit to him, except for maybe staying relevant and just having his name in the media at least twice a year. Paul, Logan, he has a decent following, so maybe there is money to be made. He has, lots of subscribers on YouTube. So I don't think for 1 second that this is out of the goodness of Mayweather's heart to help him get to a professional level. I don't know. Maybe Mayweather's bored. Maybe he's probably just doing this to show us how it all feels to be bored and what he's going through on a daily basis. So
he's gotta be bored. He's gotta be.
I mean, Tyson.
He's itching to fight.
Tyson's bored, and he did what he did, right? And so I don't know. I'll catch the highlights on YouTube. Thank you very much. And even then, I probably not.
Oh man, no, for sure. So going along that of, people worried about him being seriously hurt, Adian, is Logan Paul going to walk out of this fight alive? And who does this fight benefit more, Mayweather or Logan?
So I looked it up. In California, a burial plot costs at least $4,000. So Logan Paul, he can set aside as much money as he needs from this fight to pay for that plot. He's good. But other than that, seriously, I expect it to be a first-round stoppage. He's not a power puncher, but he's going to destroy an amateur boxer. That's like if I trained for boxing for years and years and I decided to fight him. I would have no chance. I would get murdered. And I think that's what's going to happen here. It's going to be pretty much a massacre. And who has more to gain? I'm going to say Logan Paul does, because of the notoriety he's going to get for fighting a legend in boxing. He's 50-0. Mayweather has everything on the line, but it's an exhibition fight at the end of the day. There's no way Mayweather wants to lose, and yeah, I don't expect it to pass the first round.
Exhibition, he's not going to take an L. No way.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see that.
Do you guys want to see a knockout though? I mean, we know he's not a power puncher, but obviously he has the mechanics to do so. Do you want him to go all out and try to knock him out?
No,
I'm talking about Mayweather. Mayweather go all out.
I think there's actually a potential for a knockout, not because Mayweather has power, but because Paul doesn't. I don't think he has the technical capabilities to know how to. Yeah, if he gets winded and he missteps, I mean, Mayweather's a counterpuncher, and you catch someone off guard in the right moment, in the right way, it's lights out. And so I think if there's going to be a knockout, it's going to be Paul making a mistake and Mayweather capitalizing.
Did any of you catch the exhibition fight between Mayweather and the Japanese boxer?
No,
I remember watching the YouTube video.
His name was like Tenkashi or something. Mayweather went to
KSI,
Japan.
Yeah.
He took it wasn't KSI, I don't think, but it was Tenkashi or something like that. But he took home $9 million for knocking out a guy 3 times, and the fight was stopped within like 2 minutes. So I don't expect it to be any different when that guy actually boxes for a career, and Logan Paul's a YouTuber. Like, this is.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, if this is for entertainment, I don't want Mayweather to hold back, especially, like Logan accepted the challenge already. Don't hold back. Just go all out. Like, I want to see someone knocked out, but, nothing too crazy. But I want to see a knockout.
Safely, let's be clear.
Exactly. Yes. Safely knocked out. But, I mean, he took the challenge, so he knows when he steps into that ring, all bets are off. I mean, everything's legal for the most part. So, I mean, keep it clean, of course, but I want to see them really go all out.
I imagine this being like a circus. It's going to be a circus fight.
Oh, man.
I mean, look at Pacquiao, right? Pacquiao was... Sorry, go ahead, Adrian.
Sorry, before you say that, do you guys expect it to take to get a lot of pay-per-view purchases?
Absolutely.
Oh,
in a pandemic? Sure. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. For
you're somebody who's not even into fighting, and if you want to watch this, like, that says a lot.
People will pay to watch Logan Paul get knocked out.
Yeah, right. It's more about that. So, like Adrian said, I'm not one to watch contact sports, period. But I'm just picturing like what's happening to their body on a physiological level. So I know I'm going to be watching this for sure. So shifting gears a little bit to some NBA talk. So the 2020 and 2021 season has officially begun, like EJ said, with the preseason starting today, actually. And I can speak for the whole panel when I say we are so excited that basketball is back. But we can't forget that the return of the season will be done once again in the setting of a pandemic. So teams will not have the luxury of playing in a bubble for their 72 home games, which puts them at risk, unfortunately. And as of this week, 8 out of the 541 players tested were positive, which is a significant drop from the 48 positive cases from the initial round of testing. So it was reported by the Athletic's Shams Charania that the league intends to do daily testing, with results coming back within 30 to 90 minutes, depending on where the team is actually playing. So we'll start off with you, Mark. Given that the NBA kind of set the tone for essentially all sports with this bubble idea, do you think they're making a mistake by allowing these teams to travel between markets?
If you had asked me this a month ago, I probably would have said yes. And I've been a big proponent of the NFL being reckless with COVID and said it on the show multiple times. But I don't think that they're making a mistake here. It looks like they have the correct protocols in place. Specifically, the testing players on a daily basis. The NFL, they've been able to minimize their positive tests. And it's like, it's almost as if the NBA saw it and said, hey, why not us? The NBA, they need these games to continue as their revenue continues to fall off of a cliff. And this is the next best option to having a bubble. The players, they'll be motivated to stay healthy and stay away from risky situations because a positive test would basically have them on the bench until their symptoms are gone. And not to mention, I mean, it puts their health at risk too, and anyone that's around them, including their teammates, their families, and then just the NBA brotherhood in general.
No, absolutely. And just kind of furthering that point then, Adian, how much responsibility would you put on the player if the numbers were starting to rise? Because I know with the NFL, a lot of people were putting blame on the organization itself for not putting their athletes in the best position to succeed. So if there were an outbreak to happen in the NBA, how much responsibility do you put on the players?
It's a tough question. I'm going to have to say 50-50 because the league put the protocols in place. But COVID-19 is a very difficult thing to control if you're not in a contained situation like the bubble. If we had the answer, we would have figured it out by now. And so I think that part of it is the league's responsibility. But then each person, each individual, each player has to do their part in following those protocols, whether that's making sure you pass all the tests and staying away from other people that could expose you. I know they put the protocol in place that you can't go to clubs or bars or I guess gentlemen clubs, if you'd want to call them that. And so that's some ways you can limit the exposure for players, but I don't see it happening because this is just much too difficult to control. So the players really got to do their part.
Yeah, absolutely. And EJ, the league doesn't have any parameters yet about how they're going to decide whether or not they're going to cancel a game. There's no set numbers of positive cases or anything like that. So how optimistic are you that this schedule is actually going to go smoothly? There were no hiccups in the bubble, but do you expect this to be a scheduling nightmare like the MLB and the NFL saw?
Well, of course, personally, I would want it to go as smoothly as possible, to stick to their schedule. But it's not like the NFL. These teams aren't playing just once a week. So, and again, the season was already shortened from 72 to 72 games from the regular 82 games. Most games are scheduled to play every other night, or there's a 2-night gap in between for most teams. So, I don't know. It's going to be a scheduling nightmare if they decide to reschedule games. I don't think they have that availability, though, because they want to finish before the Olympics. That's right. That's the whole reason why they wanted to have a earlier season, a start to the season, and to finish earlier. So they'll probably have to be playing some back-to-backs if they do some rescheduling. But like Mark said earlier, it's probably just going to be the players who do test positive are going to end up being benched. And we definitely hope that it doesn't happen to any of the stars, because of course we want to see them play, or any player. Honestly, I mean, we want to see the teams at their best. So. Hopefully they're able to, do their part with all the testing, the daily testing.
Yeah, hopefully. The NBA has been really good about making sure they actually follow their procedures. So hopefully everything goes smoothly. And the last question I have, kind of rounding off this topic, is whoever wins this shortened season in this pandemic setting, do you have an asterisk on that title?
No, not at all. I mean, the same demands are there. Regardless of how many games there are, the competition is going to be even tougher. They're going to, now that they've gotten a preview of what playing in a bubble, playing in a pandemic is going to be like with the previous season, there should be no surprises, really. I don't think there should be an asterisk, just like last season. I don't think they should put an asterisk to that, because it's still going to be highly competitive, especially with all the moves that's been made. But if the pandemic continues to worsen and players are benched, that's only the player or the organization's fault for not allowing them to stay as safe as possible. So it's going to be important that they hold to those protocols and stay true to them. That way you can't complain and say like, oh, it's because so-and-so got sick. Like, you knew off bat, what you're going to have to do. So
absolutely.
No.
So, okay. All right, then. So there's no doubt that we're in for another unprecedented NBA season, but we're going to take a quick break. And after the break, we're going to continue on with our NBA topics. We'll be right back.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced, not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Aguila Pilipinas A 1-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Aguila Provincia. Tune into Mata ng Aguila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Aguila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to explain our help outdoor.
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Welcome back to EBC Sports International. I'm your host, Arita Sese, reporting from Toronto, Canada. Thanks for sticking with us. So we're going to continue on with some other NBA news. A couple weeks ago, six-time All-Star Paul George stated that he wanted to retire as a Clipper. And this week, his team did their part to bring him one step closer to that. So it was reported this week by ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski that the Los Angeles Clippers signed Paul George to his max contract of 4 years, $190 million. So I'm going to jump right in there. EJ, do you think this was a smart move by the Clippers?
They were held hostage, honestly. I mean, look at who they had to give up in order to even just get Paul George over there. They ended up giving up a star or a future star of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, and a boatload of draft picks to Oklahoma City. So if they don't give him a contract, Paul George has the opportunity to leave. He said he wanted to stay with the Pacers. He said, he said he wanted to stick around with Russell Westbrook in OKC, but I don't think that's it's in his control. Honestly, the Clippers had to make that move, had to offer him that money, and I'm not mad at it. Even though Paul George didn't really show up in the playoffs like we see him in the regular season, you look at De'Aaron Fox getting a supermax in Sacramento, and where has Sacramento gone? There's definitely players who are getting signed left and right, who are getting that money. So Paul George is easily one of the better players in the NBA, one of the superstars in the NBA. I'm happy that he was able to get that money, but I don't see the Clippers going anywhere with just him and Kawhi. But they had to make that move. They had to make that move.
Yeah, I agree with you in that that was the only way forward for the Clippers, especially with everything that they've given up. But Adian, given his track record, especially in the playoffs, like EJ was saying, do you believe that Paul George deserves this contract?
I think you pay him not based on his playoff results. You're paying him based on his past regular season success. Oof. He was an MVP candidate last season with the OKC Thunder. And going into this season, he was probably regarded as like a top 8 or 9 player in the league. I don't know if he's regarded as that now because of what we've seen in the playoffs, but you pay a player like that, they deserve max money. Especially if you're the Clippers, you have to invest all you can in a top 10 to 20 player. Like that's a given. But did he deserve it based on his playoff success? I'm going to say no. After his injury, he's not been the same player in the playoffs. I mean, he had a couple good runs with the Indiana Pacers. They played the Miami Heat. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years in a row. But that's about it as far as his playoff success goes. And that is not even all on his back. They had David West, George Hill, Roy Hibbert. they were a solid team. And that was when Lance Stevenson was balling out. So that was a decent roster. Now that he's had like even better roster since, whether that was with the Thunder, with Carmelo and Westbrook, or whether that was with the Clippers, with Kawhi and the gang, like he should have been doing a lot better. And the one thing I'll say is he does not deserve the nickname Playoff P.
There's a better playoff. I was going to say there was a better playoff P, but Pascal was not it. Amin, like EJ also mentioned, given that we've heard the same sentiment that he had in Indiana, in OKC, that he wants to retire as these franchise players, what makes this time different? Do you believe Paul George when he says this?
I don't think so. I can't. You can't believe Paul George anymore at this point. You can tell that you got to say what you got to say to make your money, and that's pretty much how these NBA players are able to do that. He can't be honest and say like, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. You can't tell the owners that. Otherwise, they're not going to give you a 4-year and $190 million contract. You got to tell them, I want to retire with the Clippers. and then they're going to be like, well, you know what? I'm glad you say that because we're going to give you $190 million now. If you were to say like, I don't know, man. We'll see how it goes this season. And if you're a 2K player, if you were to choose the latter, your rating will go down. People will be like, "Are you serious? Like, you're
loyalty
really
zero."
Sure yet? We'll probably give you $10 million if you say that.
Yeah,
he's gonna be like, dang it. He's got a smart agent. He's a smart and savvy business person when it comes to being able to get max contracts for a team that he may not have intention to stay with. I think if acquiring Serge Ibaka to play with Kawhi Leonard and himself, they do have a pretty decent playoff run. As far as a championship run, that's a different story. Yeah. But I mean, playoff P is going to have to, really step up to the plate and really deliver. You know what I mean? You could call him paycheck P, but I don't know.
Ooh, that's a better one. Ooh, I like that one. Much more fitting.
Paycheck P. You can call it paycheck P.
Yeah, that makes way more sense. Okay, so Mark, what implications does this have then for the Clippers' future, especially or specifically speaking about Kawhi and future extensions for Kawhi?
Yeah, I kind of agree with everybody. I think this was the first step in trying to sign Kawhi, and I'm going to have to agree with EJ. It was, quite frankly, the only step they had in trying to get Kawhi. There's no doubt, he's definitely an all-star. And in many ways, Kawhi and PG, they work well together, assuming everyone shows up for the playoffs. But the Clippers, they do have a lot of work to do. They have a lot of contracts coming off the books in the next 2 years. And pitching to other free agents to come and play with Paul George and Kawhi are on top of those reasons to come and join the team. And that's the best way that that's their best pitch moving forward. And the West is going to be absolutely stacked in the next few years with the younger pack of players starting to really make waves. You have Luka in Dallas. You have Murray in Denver. You have Davis with the other LA team, the better LA team, I would argue. You have Booker and Ayton in Phoenix. I actually forgot about Fox with the Kings. He's doing really well too. And then you have Minnesota. They look really good on paper as well. Not to mention all the other Western Conference teams that are already top tier, like the Warriors coming back. I have no idea what's going to happen with the Rockets this year. And you have all those teams. So there and only 8 spots in the playoffs, right? So the Clippers need that star power. Kawhi and PG, it's their best bet. I think their only bet at this point. And assuming that the Clippers front office can put the right pieces around them, and Coach Ty Lue, he can actually do what he was hired to do, which is babysit.
Yeah, essentially. Oh, man. But you know what? I give it to the Clippers. At least they don't have to worry about Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and then also the moving contracts that they do have. So they got one more out of the way. So given how the things have panned out for the Rockets, that's kind of our next topic right now. Moving on to another all-star that made headlines this week. Oh, he's been in headlines a couple of times throughout the offseason. James Harden has yet to participate in any of the Rockets' practice. So Harden's arrival to Houston was a little bit delayed, and it was reported that he made appearances in different locations in Atlanta and Las Vegas. And it was reported by ESPN that he has to produce negative tests for 6 straight days before actually being able to be cleared to play. So, Adian, what do you think Harden is trying to send a message to his organization right now? And if so, what's that message?
Is there a more clear way you can say, I quit? He wants to leave the organization. I think it's very obvious. He won't talk about it. He won't comment about it because he's not available for the media. And it's the perfect way to, this is the perfect play if you want to leave a franchise. Do I agree with it? No, but this is what players can do now that they have this much power in the league. They can just say, hey, I want you to trade Chris Paul away and get Russell Westbrook here. And now that Russell Westbrook doesn't want to be here, I want to leave too. He had all the say in the organization, and it's crazy to me that he's allowed to just say, I want to leave. But yeah, I think all he's trying to say is, get me out of here as fast as you can. I'm going to stay around as many friends as I want to so that you can put me through all the COVID protocols so I'll never have to show up for media again. I think that's all it is.
6 days, make it 600 days.
I know, right? If it was up to him, I'm sure. So like Aiden was saying, it has become a players-led league. So Amin, do you think that Harden has grounds to be this demanding? He's literally gotten everything he's asked for. It never has panned out the way he hopes for. So do you think he has grounds to do this to his organization?
I really think James Harden is leveraging his value by not showing up to practices. You know, just like what was said. If the easiest way to quit from your job is to just not show up, well, then James Harden is doing that. Adian was just hit it right on the head. If you can't let me leave, then I'm going to force you to fire me. Move me somewhere else.
Yeah.
He definitely does have the leverage, though. James Harden is the biggest what if right now, because of his talent and because of the stars that he can attract. He's the biggest what if on if we don't keep him. What if he goes somewhere else and he stars and he shines really great? Then the Rockets are going to shoot themselves in the foot, kick themselves in the butt for not trying harder to keep him around. But you can't keep somebody who doesn't want to be around. So that's where the Rockets organization is going to really have to think about: is it worth the headache dealing with James Harden right now? I got inside information that this guy was here in Las Vegas for a birthday party. It's like, does he really care about his career? He was definitely here, and being here in the pandemic where the hotels and restaurants shutting down left and right, is he really advertising himself in the light that he really wants to be with the Rockets? I wouldn't think so. But, if I'm going to be a franchise thinking about should we pick up James Harden, then you're like, it's a big gamble. Is he going to do the same thing? Of course he's going to do the same thing if he wants to leave. If he doesn't get what he wants, he's going to act the way he acts. So, James Harden's going to James Harden. That's all it is.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, EJ, of all the teams that are potential landing spots for Harden, which one team do you think is the best fit for him, that makes the most sense?
I wish that he, Russell Westbrook, and KD just all stayed in OKC. They would have been such a fun team to watch. I know. Hey, but like what Mark was saying, how loaded the West is. It's so obvious that he's only naming Eastern Conference teams to go to. I want to go. Who's the first? I want to go over there with the Heat. I want to play with KD and Kyrie. I want to play. Okay. I'm open to Sixers now. Okay. Let me go ahead and add the Heat and Giannis to that list as well. Obviously, the message that he's actually sending is so clear that he's just trying to join a team where he can get a very easy championship. Everybody was bashing KD when he went and joined the Warriors. I don't see why this is any different. Harden is literally dictating where he wants to go. It's not, he's not a free agent. So obviously the hands are in the Rockets organization, but it's the exact same situation that KD was in, except Harden this time doesn't really have the choice. It's the Rockets' choice to decide where they really decide to trade him because of the assets they're going to acquire from that. So going back to your question, the best potential landing spot for Harden, if he wants to win the championship, which is why I think he's actually requesting this trade, is to go to Milwaukee for me. Out of the teams that he's listed, I think Milwaukee would be the better fit, even if they do get rid of like Chris Middleton and swap him out with Middleton and he ends up being with Jrue Holiday and Giannis. I think that's going to be a pretty scary big three. A lot scarier than a Middleton, Giannis, and Jrue Holiday.
Oh, yeah.
But the reason why I also say that is because the Bucks gave up so much this offseason that it's not even talked about. Like, they acquired Jrue Holiday, but look at who they gave out. They gave out they're basically the running core of their... Yeah, but even their back court, they gave them all away. George Hill, Eric Bledsoe, DiVincenzo. These guys are heavily on the rotation, and they gave them all away, replaced it with one Jrue Holiday. I think Bucks need to find another star if they want to keep Giannis, because that's another thing that they got to worry about. If they want to keep Giannis, they need to add the right player. I think this is a perfect opportunity for the Bucks to try and get James Harden, especially since he's literally saying he wants out. They're desperate to keep Giannis as well. I think this is a win-win for both organizations.
Yeah, that would be crazy to see Giannis teamed up with Harden. But, Mark, it seems like the Nets and the 76ers are kind of the favorites right now amongst analysts. So if you are the Rockets front office, what are you looking for from these organizations to give up your main guy? Are you including are you getting rid of Ben Simmons? Are you looking for Ben Simmons? Like, what are you looking for from those two teams?
Yeah, if I'm the Rockets front office, I'm quite frankly, I don't care what Harden thinks. I don't care if he wants to only hear off, like if he wants the Sixers or the Nets. I'm listening to anyone's offer, and what I want is, D'Antoni's gone, so I think now is probably a really good time to look into the future. You got John Wall coming off an injury. Who knows? Boogie Cousins is there. Apparently, I saw on Instagram. I didn't even know he signed with the team. But I mean, look, if they're anything close to what they were before both of their major injuries, I think that they can be, they can be contenders, even as stacked as the West is. And so I'm listening to what anybody has to say. But if it's going to be with one of those two teams, and I had a lot of angry rant that I really wanted to go into, but if I'm going to listen, if it has to be those two teams, I want a Simmons or an Embiid, one of those two from the Sixers. And if it's the Nets, just give me your bench. Give me the bench. Like you, Kyrie, KD, Harden, you guys can go have your little pity parties and avoiding media. And I remember when I wanted to quit my first job and didn't know how to have that conversation. I called in sick a lot. That's what I did. So,
looks familiar.
I just feel I feel bad for the Rockets organization. Kind of, they've gone out of their way to make Harden happy, and even brought Westbrook, who I thought was a terrible match from the beginning. And they brought him in, and they're still going to cry like a little baby as if he just got fouled and didn't get the call. I'm sorry, I'm just rambling at this point, but I think the Rockets really need to look at building for the future. Simmons would be great, Embiid would be great, or draft picks.
Oh man, we are so close to the tip-off that they have to figure out something soon, because that's kind of a domino effect for other teams too. But we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to continue on with our discussion right after. We'll be right back.
Passengers here are in for a ride. Taxi drivers here need nerves of steel, while passengers here can get an eyeful along the way. Rev taxis accommodate passengers all over the world. The Driver, our series. Rev.
Events happen around us all the time. in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Welcome back, sports fans. So for the last part of our segment, we're going to continue on with the theme of All-Stars. So All-Star Kyrie Irving and his team, the Brooklyn Nets, were fined $25,000 this week for Irving missing his preseason availability. In response to the actions made by the NBA, Kyrie Irving took to his Instagram stating that he hopes the league will use the money for marginalized communities in need. He also asked that the distractions stop. However, it was the ending of Kyrie Irving's message that has many talking, as Irving referred to the media as pawns. So, EJ, I know before you've been very understanding towards the actions of Kyrie. So how do you feel about this situation?
Nah, this is just so unprofessional to me. I mean, a distraction. He's the one being a distraction, right? I mean, it's part of your contract to talk to media. You're working for an organization who makes money off of the media, of the players, and you guys are the ones who attract the people to watch basketball, and you're not showing up. That's part of the job. You got to talk to media. I don't like the way he's handling it. I think he's being very unprofessional at this point. I'm tired of it, man. Just if you have a message that you want to get across, then say it. That's what the media is for. Show up and talk to the media.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. We've seen it with NFL players. We've seen it with other NBA players. That there's no better time for you to say what you need to say than your media availability.
Right.
But Amin, as someone who is part of the media, I know when I heard it, I was like, he called me a pawn, who has access to these players. How do you feel as part of media sometimes when you heard that?
Well, being at the games and post-conference or post-game conference talks, some of the players use that as a way to, make statements. I mean, I'm not going to point any fingers, but Kawhi Leonard was almost an hour late for media availability. An hour after the game. I was like, bro, I got to drive back home. Come on, man. People are waiting for you. You had people leaving already. So, I understand Kyrie's frustration with distractions and media people being pawns, but you are in a professional setting. You have to fulfill the responsibilities as an athlete in the NBA, and then that's what you got to do. It's part of your responsibility as an athlete in the NBA. As far as going to the extent of calling media people pawns, I mean, what are you really trying to get at? Are you so I'm not a huge fan of Kyrie, if you haven't noticed yet, because of his antics. The style that he chooses to handle things are very unprofessional. It says a lot more about him than it does the media. You're able to dictate when you show up and when you speak and things like that. That to me, that's like very diva-ish. And it was very popular on social media lately that LeBron really tried to put Kyrie on a pedestal and put him on a path to success, and Kyrie chose to choose his own path, which is it's commendable, but I don't know if that is the right choice. And sometimes people learn the hard way. Maybe Kyrie will understand that it's all part of the job. You got to do what you're responsible for and show up. It's pretty simple.
You sign a contract, you got to fulfill all aspects, whether you like it or not, right? So, Mark, if you're KD as his teammate, are you looking over really you're going to put all the pressure on me now to speak on our team? So if you're KD, what are you thinking?
If I'm KD, I'm actually clapping. there's another one of I'm home. This is my team. I'm sorry. No, I wouldn't be worried about about Kyrie and what he's doing with the media, because with KD, every distraction that comes with this season is less attention that he's getting, to come back to get back to his game. He's been out for a year. He just had a rough relationship with Draymond and the Warriors. He sacrificed his body and an entire season for that organization. He signed with the Nets. Kyrie's there now. He hasn't had a great relationship with the media either. And so all the attention that Kyrie's getting with all of his antics, it takes the attention away from KD trying to come back, make his comeback. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this is all part of that ploy to really take that attention away from KD. But like I said at the beginning, I'm clapping Kyrie and hey, you're my guy. Now let's get Harden over there and let's make a real circus.
That'll be so much fun for our Brooklyn correspondents to cover them for sure.
Oh yeah.
Adian, are you a fan of how the NBA has been handling it? Do you feel like they should be forcing Kyrie? Can you even force a grown man to do it?
Generally speaking, I'm about player empowerment, and I wouldn't want to force anybody to do something they're not comfortable doing or that they don't want to do. But at the same time, this is his job. He needs to fulfill his role on the team as a player in the league. Yeah, you have to do your part. But would I force him? No. The protocol's in place. He's going to get fined over and over if he doesn't show up for media. And maybe he has enough money that he doesn't mind the fines. And so if his goal is to have a conversation about why he doesn't want to talk to the media or where his money is going, then I guess it's seen as a success from his perspective. As fans, kind of hurts that he doesn't want to talk and give at least a quote to media. And as a media member, it's like, this sucks. He's like one of the best players in the league. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Pull the Marshawn Lynch role. I'm here so I won't get fined. I'm here to ask questions. Just do it.
Be as good as that. No, for sure. But like I said, it'll be interesting for any media or fans of the Brooklyn Nets to see how this pans out. But going to our very last section really quickly, this was a trend that I saw on Twitter is I'm going to ask the panel who their favorite basketball team is without telling me who their oh my gosh, I can't speak, who their favorite basketball team is. So for example, for me, this is obvious. It's a bunch of purple dinosaurs who got stood up by a guy with really big hands. And since him leaving, the team has not been the same. Of course, that's the Toronto Raptors. So Mark, you got to get a little creative here. So let's see if we can take a guess.
Let me hide what's going on back here. If I had to describe my team, I mean, we're brothers. The court's wet, even though it shouldn't be. We don't play the fourth quarter because that's it.
And that team would be the Warriors. Okay, EJ.
Easy for me. All I gotta say is you gotta take a walk in my shoes, or in this case, my house slippers. The Washington Wizards, baby.
Okay. I didn't I was like, wait, what?
Are you serious? Y'all don't know logos? Come on, man.
Dude, I thought the Washington Nationals Wizards was the Walgreens logo, dude.
Oh, man. Adian, let's hear yours.
My first team is the Raptors, but I'm going to go ahead and say this other team that has always been my first love. It's an old wise guy, a big robotic dude who's the greatest power forward of all time, and 5 championships.
I got to say Spurs. Is that the Spurs?
Like
you got it.
Yeah.
It's that old wise guy. You already know who that is. And lastly, Amin. Let's hear it.
Purple and gold, baby. All day.
So easy. So easy.
Man,
oh yeah, it's so easy when you're the most recognized and respected team.
Whatever, that was so anticlimactic.
Could have just said champs, and we could have been moving on.
All right, guys,
champs with an asterisk.
That's actually all the time that we have for this week. So, on behalf of everyone on the panel, thank you so much for joining us this week. Make sure you to visit our website eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at EagleNewsPH to join the conversation. From Toronto, Canada, I'm Zarita Sese. This is EBC Sports International. We live in interesting times.
Huwag tayong mag-alala. Kung ganito man, kalala ang problema ng mundo, tandaan ninyo, mayroon tayong Diyos na handang-handang tumulong sa atin. Ang kailangan ay makita ng Diyos yung pagkakaisa, pagtutulong-tulong at yung kasipagan ng tao sa kanyang paghahanap buhay.